Linda Sousa here, and today we're making some chili. And this is a version of my beef chili. I have a great recipe for turkey chili if you want to check that out on the website. But for my beef chili, what I have here is I took basically a top round steak, probably about a little over a pound, and I cubed it up, put a touch of olive oil in my cast iron skillet, and it's been cooking. There's a little bit of sea salt in here and a little ground pepper. And you can see that there was a lot of liquid in here, and it is starting now to evaporate, and that meat, I don't know if you can see that piece right there, it's starting to caramelize, and that's kind of how most of it is going to get, because once we put it into our the rest of the chili, that will break down really, really nicely. In this pot, I have a pound of grass-fed ground beef. It's organic grass-fed ground beef, and it actually doesn't make a lot of fat. It doesn't have a lot of fat in it. So you can see there isn't a lot of fat in the pan. Normally, depending upon the type of meat that I'm using, there could be a lot of grease in the bottom of the pan, especially if I was mixing it with sausage. So then I would drain it, remove it from the pan, and then cook everything else. Today I'm not going to be doing that because there really isn't anything else in the bottom of the pan. So while this continues to render down, as you can see this, it's going to keep going like that, and we're going to let it cook along. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add some of my other ingredients. So what I have here is just some chopped onion. I have some scallions, some garlic. That's a little jalapeno, and that's a habanero pepper. This is parsley. That'll be one of the last things to go in. Some red pepper, and this is a cubanella or a banana pepper. So I'm going to take some of these and I'm going to put them in here. Actually, what I'm going to do here is add the onion. I'm going to try to stay away from putting the parsley in there. I'm really going to add everything in here but the parsley. So let's see if we go this way. And you can hear the sizzling of that other pan. So that means that that beef in that pan is just, all that liquid is evaporating beautifully. Whoop, there we go. I'll put this parsley in just a little later. I just don't want it to burn. So I'm going to put this back over here. I'm going to mix this up. Now I could add a touch of olive oil to get this moving, and I actually think I'm going to try to get this to season up just a little bit. Just a touch. There we go. So this is more or less the base and the beginning of my chili. Now, I'm going to add some seasonings to that in a minute, but look at this. Look at how beautifully this is coming together now. And it's just browning nicely. If I was making my tomato sauce, I would actually wait till it gets a little browner than this, and I'd add some wine, because that wine will help break down that meat and make it so nice and tender. But I don't usually add that when I'm making chili. So we're going to have some nice chunks of meat in here. But the acid in the tomato sauce, when I put that in there, the tomatoes will help break this down. So I'm going to let this cook just a little more. I'm going to lower the heat and come over here, and I'm going to season this a bit. So I'm going to add just a little sea salt and a little, ground black pepper. Now we have our own little Cajun. I wish you could smell this. I wish this was like Smell TV, so you could smell, or smell video, whatever you want to call it, so you could smell the aromas that are coming out of this. It is really absolutely delicious. And I'm going to just run over here. This is like a Cajun Spice mix that we make. My husband John has a great recipe that we use, and then I take it and I add a little bit to it. So I'm going to put a little bit of that in here. It's got all kinds of stuff. I think I have the recipe out on my website if you want it. Or just shoot me a message or ask me and I can get that to you. There's also another great rub that I use that I really like. It's from the 22-Minute Hardcore. 22-Minute Hardcore. It's Tony Horton's recipe, and it's really good. So I'm going to probably add more as we get going with this. But that beef is all cooked nicely. I don't really need my veggies in here to be transparent, but I definitely want them to get tender before I start adding any other liquid. So I'm just going to keep letting this cook. This looks like it's getting ready to where I'm going to add it to this. You can see this. It's quite lovely. Look at that. And I'm going to scoot over here and grab a pot holder, because holding this cast iron pot is hot and I don't want to burn myself. There we go. So we've got that in the pot. Let's put that in the sink. And I'm just going to mix that right in. Look at that. Look at those beautiful peppers and the onion, the garlic. Those scallions are in there. It's just smelling wonderful. My husband felt like having a little chili yesterday, and we were busy. We had a lot of things going on, so I said, well, I'll make it today. So that's why we're doing the chili, and we're doing this version. So now I have a few other things over here, and I'm just going to bring them over because I'm going to start adding some of them to the pot. This is some fire roasted tomatoes. It's actually a large can and then a smaller can. I'm going to just add that. I may need a little more liquid, but for now, that's good. Because this is going to render a little more liquid of its own as it starts to cook. You know, chili, you can add whatever you want. You know, nice cumin, and, you know, I know a lot of people put a lot of dried flavorings, like dried, you know, onion powder and garlic powder, and you can do all of that. A lot of that is in, some of that is in here, and I'm going to add a little more of this. And I may add just a touch of water just to help this along. And then I'm going to let this cook, because I just want it to get all those flavors together. So I'm going to use just a little bit of water. Put that in there. There we go. So now, and what I am going to do as well is I'm going to add the corn. I just got a package of frozen corn. I'm going to add that in here now. And I'm going to let this cook. We're not going to add the beans just yet. I've got a can of cannellini beans and a can of red kidney beans that is going to go in here. This is still a long way from being done. It's just getting started. So it needs time now for all those flavors to meld together. And now I'm going to add my parsley. Some nice fresh parsley. I'm just putting that right in there. And I'm looking at this. I know it's going to render a little more liquid, but I'm going to add just a touch more. I'm going to add a little more spice. This might have a little kick to it, because you saw I had a habanero and a pretty decent sized jalapeno pepper all chopped up and in there. So that'll definitely have a little bit of a kick to it in here. And John likes chili with the corn, so that's why that's in here too. It actually gives it a nice flavor. So we'll be back when I'm ready to put the beans in, and I'll show you the finished product. Hey there, we're back with our beef chili. And look at that, it is just cooking away. I've got to lower the heat on this a bit, and I'm going to add my beans. So this is a can of the white cannellini beans and the red kidney beans. Now I drain them and I wash them really well before I put them into my chili. Some people just put them in from the can with the juices from the can, and that's fine if that's what you like. I prefer to drain and wash them, and that's what I do. So now this is going to have to sit here for a while. It's got to cook. The flavors really need some time to marry. You can see these chunks of beef in here. There is organic ground beef, but there's also chunks of top round that I cooked. See, they're right there. So those are actually going to tenderize really nicely in this fire roasted tomato based sauce that's in this chili. And they're going to come apart. It's going to be delicious when it's time to eat. And so that's on the stove, and it'll be cooking for a little while, and we'll come back when it's done and show you the finished product.